Today's topic for my lecture is reader response theory, which comes under the literary theories which we have in English literature. Now, this reader response theory arose basically in reaction against the new criticism, which is popularly known as formal criticism, which demands that text has its own existence. Now, as you see the first slide, I've tried to simplify things for students. I shall read the first sentence so to make things more clear. Now, this formalistic approach was more subjective, and when I say or refer to something as subjective, we mean that it pertains to your own viewpoint, your own individual. It passes on from individual to individual. I may see things differently, you may see things differently. Now, a subjective reading of a text is one which emphasizes one's own attitudes, moods, and opinions. If I'm in a good mood, I may like a poem, and I may feel that the poem is a very optimistic poem. When I'm in a sad mood, I may think that the poem is not optimistic. It is full of melancholy, sorrow. So, subjectivity means it depends upon the reader. When we read something, it depends upon our attitude, our temperament, our opinion. Now, when we say something as to what is objective, we mean that it pertains or it refers to an object which is separate from the individual, irrespective of my mood, my behavior, my attitude. And the then objective reading would be, it is an uninfluenced reading. It is an uninfluenced reading. I may have any opinion about the author or about the text, but when I read it, I will read it afresh without any bias, without any favorism or any prejudice. Now, reader response criticism offers us a subjective or an egocentric reading of a text. Now, when I say egocentric, meri marzi wala. And egocentrism means or refers to anything that regards the self of the individual as the center of all things. As I said, that meri marzi, my attitude, my mood is of pivotal role, is of the only importance which I think. That is more important. Now, the reader response critics believe that if a text does not have reader, then the text does not exist and the text has no meaning. For them, it is the reader with whom the text begins. So the reader response critics, as I've already told you, they believe and they emphasize, they stress that a text cannot have a meaning. It cannot exist in vacuum. Kalle nahi ho sakta. It has to have a reader. The text to have a meaning, to make people understand that yes, an author has written something, there must be a reader. And I've given an example that if a tree falls in the forest and no one else is around to hear it, does it make a noise? Similarly, if a text is on the bookshelf or even an author has written a beautiful story, maybe a poem, but nobody is there to read it, nobody is there to appreciate it or even to criticize it, denounce it, the text, the poem, the novel will not have any meaning at all. Now, what is exactly the reader response? I'm going to come to that now. Actually, reader response criticism is free school. It is a free school of thought. It believes that one needs to carefully read the text. They focus on finding the meaning in the act of reading. जिवें जिवें पढ़ोगे ओवें ओवें you will understand. Oveं oveं you will make your own meaning. You do not have to be influenced by the earlier readers or by the readers which are to come in the future. Now, here the reader is joining hands with the author to develop the meaning of the text. In a way, we can say that reader response attacks formalism. And the formalist critics, or the new critics as we also name them, they always stressed that text is the end and the beginning and the end of everything. But reader response critics, they say no, it is the reader who can say what the text says, or if does even the text exist. Now, another feature of reader response theory is that it is based on rhetoric. When I say rhetoric, it is the art of persuasion. The author, while writing, he's trying to make the reader, he's trying to convince or persuade the reader that one should understand what the author is trying to say. Now, a successful reader response critic doesn't easily respond to a text. You know, anyone can do that. He would like to read the text, think over it, analyze. Even he would like to read or respond to the other responses made by other readers. As we can see, and we all understand, that we do not live a solitary life. We live a life of society. We live together in groups. We live in families. So our life experiences are greatly influenced by so many texts. Either they are, recommended to us through our elders, maybe religion, and even our course material. So each reader will interact or will see to a text differently. The text may have more than 1, 2, 3 meanings, may have different kind of interpretations. I can give you an example to make you understand this thing. When I was, as a student, I read Jane Austen's Emma. I was told that, it is a simple drawing room novel talking about the aristocratic society, and, the only work the upper class people had in that society was to look for, the girls had to get ready, look beautiful, and just go into the ballrooms, have a dance, make friends, and get married to a rich landlord. But when I personally read it as a student, and the characters, I found it was okay. But later, when I reread it as a teacher, analyzed it many a times, read various critics giving their own interpretations, I found out that it was also a story of jealousy. I found out it was a story of intelligence as well. A few characters were pretty intelligent, not to allow their younger brother sisters to get married easily. So, just citing an example. Another example here which I can give you is why is Ramayana, Mahabharata written by so many authors and so many interpretations? Because everybody has a new perspective to bring forth to you. Everybody wants to give their own interpretation. They would like to see it in their own way. So this is basically what a reader response critic would do. Now coming to the reader response stylistics. As we all know, it is the language. It talks about language. It talks about, we have a critic, Jonathan Culler. He examines the reader response to a text as a response to the horizon of expectations. When I say horizon, it means expectations, your desires, your wishes, they do not have bounds. Limits nahi hai uski. So, Similarly, he says, I want to see the text's limits. Can it satisfy the reader's wishes, expectations from the text? It is meant there that a text can have multiplicity of meanings and it can be accessed by the reader according to his own level of literary or educational competence. If an intellectual person can read it in a different way, and a secondary school education a person studying till there can have a different way of interpreting things. So, it is basically on that. Now, literary competence is, a reader's literary competence is highly informed by the social world or the society in which the text is produced. Like if I am reading about an American text without understanding the American society, that will be, I shall be not doing full justice to the text. Now, this is a very important point. When I read a text of a place or of a society of which I am not a part, I cannot fully justify that text's meaning. Now, in reader response, there is an interaction between the structure of the text and the reader's response. It here evokes a situation where individual readers give meaning to the text, because I've already amply and many times repeated this line, every reader treats the text different way. He may or may not like, he may interpret it differently and give new meanings, or may complete. In continuation of my previous lecture on reader response theory, I begin with the part 2 of the same theory, in which the reader response theorists share two beliefs emphatically. They stress on these two beliefs. First, the role of the reader cannot be omitted. Unlike the new critics or the formalists who believe that everything depends upon text and one need not go out of the text. Like in historical approach, we used to go to the author and his biography and the history of the age, but the new critics revolted against this. Now, once again, the reader response theorists, they focus on the role of the reader entirely, and different readers have different meanings. Second thing on which they stress is that readers are not passive. They just do not swallow the meaning given to them by the earlier reactors, critics, or the readers. They read, they think over it, ponder over it, analyze it, and then they give you maybe a new meaning, or maybe they second a already existing meaning. So these are the two major important beliefs or the points on which the reader response theorists stress. Now, the reader response theory is a completely reader's response to a literary text. And Tyson in 2006 describes in his critical theory today that there are 5 types of reader response theories, and the differences lie within each other. एक दूसरे में ही उसका difference है. We've made a summary of the theories and to show you the differences and to make the explanation more clear. Now, while I've put here 2 methods in front of you. One is the reader response method and the other is the traditional method. We have differentiated in the model. Now, reader response theorists, what do? They enhance ideas. They encourage you to give more new ideas, to give your own views, do not accept what has already been said. They are looking, they are encouraging. While the traditional method just gave you one single idea and you had to live and carry forward that single idea. The reader response method, coming to the next one, is entirely student dependent. How you understand a topic, how you bring out your own meaning, your interpretation, while in the traditional method, by which I have even been taught, is totally teacher dependent. Whatever teacher is teaching us, or whatever the meaning and the interpretation the teacher taught us, we had to abide by it. Next is that in reader response, the student becomes tolerant. Tolerant like what? That he needs to listen to the earlier interpretations and also to the various meanings and interpretations being given by his fellow colleagues, maybe his classmates or contemporaries. While in traditional methods, we had to just rely on whatever teacher had told us. The teacher's prejudices, the teacher's biasness, the teacher's favorism, disagreement had to be taken. Next point, reader response produces multiple interpretation because it is open to multiple meanings, multiple solutions, multiple interpretations. Anyone can say and change the view. While in traditional method, it will not take any new meaning. It completely discourages new ideas. Whatever it has, you have to take it. The reader response method makes us better critical readers because once we have number of ideas before us and then you can analyze each one of them and then bring out your own, definitely you become a better critical reader. While in traditional method, it is almost like a lakir ka fakir. There is no practice, no exercise of mind. You do not have to think. What has been given to you, you need to pass it on. Now next comes the transactional reader response. Transactional means leen den wala. So let's try it. This transactional reader response analyzes the transaction between the reader and the text. क्या लेन देन हो रहा है उन दोनों में? Both between the reader and the text, and both of them are necessary, the reader as well as the text. किताब है तो reader है, text है तो reader है तो text है. So both are important in the production of meaning. Now the text acts as stimulus, catalyst. एक चिंगारी, it acts as चिंगारी to which we respond our feelings. अगर हमारे आगे कुछ नहीं है, हम पढ़ ही नहीं रहे हैं, तो हमारी काहे की feelings? What are our associations? What memories? They all text. After reading a text, we respond, and that makes text as important as the reader in the entire approach or in the entire theory. So both of them are, we can say, companions in the theory. Both of them exist together. Both of them give meaning to the entire text together and the reader itself. And finally, we can say they bring out new meanings, new perspectives of the given text. Now, reader response theory, we can conclude, it makes the reader and the students to be active because the onus, they have been given importance, the onus and the duty to analyze a text by their own way, jeda marzi way, and it has achieved, this theory achieved much importance in 19th century for all the students, teachers, academicians, analysts, and was thought to be the most reliable method of studying as well as teaching. That is how we promote the students also these days, that go back, read the text, read the critical theories, read their critical interpretation, critical responses, and get back to us that how are you going to analyze it now. That is all for this theory. The very important part is that I shall continue making such critical theories easy for you in my next lectures. And if you like my channel, and for more videos and updates, like and subscribe my channel, and also press the bell icon for notifications.